Hey guys, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at the top 4 LANCELOT builds. So the first LANCELOT build, counting down from 4, is the Thunder Orkin build. So in my opinion, this build used to be a lot stronger. It got a lot weaker after they nerfed the Thunder a couple updates back. But it's still a very viable build, and in my opinion, the 4th strongest build in the game. I used to really like to take down LANCELOTs because you knock down the energy shield with the Thunder and then empty the Orkin clips onto the rest of the bot, and that would usually take them out. But now there's less LANCELOTs and more dash bots, and with no energy shield anyways, it becomes a lot easier to kill, and it's a lot slower than dash bots, and the Thunder's just not as strong, so it just makes the robot and the setup just not as strong. I also didn't include the Thunder Tyrans in this top 4 because I thought this build is stronger because it can get through physical shield bots like the Rhino, Galahad, Bulgasari, and robots like that. So I would choose the Orkin Thunder over Thunder Tyrans. But anyways, I'll let you guys watch some clips here and then I'll be back. So right here you'll see why it's better than the Tyran Thunder build, because although you get the extra 50 meters with the Tyrans, the Thunder will become weaker with that distance. And then the Thunder is better up close, so you'll see that I actually was able to take out a Bulgasari there, and with the Tyrans I just would not have been able to, as they don't deal enough damage fast enough. So the next build is the LANCELOT Tyran build, also known as the LANCELOT. It consists of 2 Tyrans and 1 Lancel, and it's very popular in the game still currently, and it became popular about a year ago. I think it was last February around, when the LANCEL got a huge buff and players decided to put it on the LANCELOT, knowing that the LANCELOT would have a physical shield as well. So it creates an energy and physical shield bot, which is pretty unusual, and there's no really given counter to the bot either. It stands up really well against high cheese, especially with Tyrans, as you'll see right here, and even Orkin high cheese, they still have to get through the energy shield. And even in just this clip, I've never been a big user of the LANCELOT, as I just have a 71,000 health shield here, and that's only level 9. But obviously players have level 12 and Mark 2s and stuff like that, but I always preferred the Thunder Orkin. That's until now. I'd probably choose the LANCELOT if I was choosing between the two, just as it can compete better with dash bots. And I remember players used to, right after the LANCELOT was buffed, they used to run 4, it could be 3, 4, or 5 LANCELOTs in a Champion League hangar, and it wouldn't be unusual. I remember counting, even with my clan, we'd go up against other clans running, I think it'd be like 17 LANCELOTs with a 6-man squad, and it was pretty crazy. And this is probably the go-to bot for players in Champion League. If they don't have the dash bots or the Inquisitor, this would probably be the next option. The shield can also provide support for your teammates, as it has a bigger radius than the bot itself. and a physical shield will still hold up. However, the firepower is obviously less than other Lancelot builds just because it has the shield instead of a weapon. And this is the LANCELOT build for you guys at number 3. So next at number 2 is the Redeemer Tyrann build on the Lancelot. It consists of 2 Tyranns and 1 Redeemer. So as you can see, this build is probably the newest build you're going to see in the game, as I'm using 2 level 12 Tyranns and level 12 Mark II Redeemer. This build clearly isn't going to be as popular as others just because the Redeemer just came out and people kind of are always worried about spending the components at first because they don't know how it's going to perform. The one issue with this build is that the Tyranns and Redeemer fire at a different pace, or rate of fire. So you may shoot the Tyranns knowing how fast they shoot and then turn away, and then the Redeemer will shoot as well because it's a slower fire rate. But you really just have to get used to it and anticipate when the weapons are going to shoot. And they also complement each other well because they can both shoot through energy shields, the Redeemers and Tyranns, as their energy weapons. And this works great against the high cheese especially because they have that energy shield. As well, I know the Redeemer was created to act as a heavy Tyrann. It fires in the same way and it looks pretty cool anyways. But yeah, so I definitely recommend this build to be your second best choice, and then I'll obviously show you the next one in a few seconds here. The one other thing that I should mention is that the builds without an Ancel, so basically all the other ones that I mentioned, they're all very susceptible to rockets, as the Lancelot in general just has a large frame, so it's easy to hit with Orkans, especially because Orkans are really strong now and you can't outrun them. So with these builds you want to stay back from that 300 meter range and stick to that 300 to 350 range where the Orkans can't hit you from a dash. But then also you have to consider that dash bots have the dash ability so they can move forward quickly. So even just with this Lancelot right here, obviously my weapons are popping off anyways, but I'm not going in that 300 meter range because if he does have rockets they won't hit me. So the first and final build that is on my Lancelot builds list is the Ember Tyrann setup. So this setup consists of 2 Tyranns and 1 Ember, and it's a pretty new setup in the game. You'll see it a lot on Lancelots and especially Inquisitors now. So this weapon, the Ember, is a flamethrower weapon, and it has a 350 meter range and is an energy weapon. It complements the Tyrans well because all these weapons can shoot through energy shields, and it's good for shooting and taking out Haichis, which have that energy shield. It's also good for taking out Kumihos because these are fast moving robots and you can track them better than wasting a full mag of Orkans or rockets. The one disadvantage about this build that I found is that the Tyrans shoot a very different way than the Ember, as the Ember is more of a steady stream like a flamethrower would be, and the Tyrans are more of a pulse weapon that shoot directly at the enemy. So when an enemy is moving back and forth, the Ember would have to generally have a slight lead. You'd have to lead them slightly, and Tyrans, you shoot them directly at the enemy. But this isn't too much of a problem, clearly because it's first on my list. And generally with all these Lancelot builds, or most of them, you'll see that I chose have Tyrans instead of Orkans. And this is because dash bots, they're more susceptible to energy in general, because with Orkans you can empty a full clip at a dash bot and it can dash twice and your whole clip is emptied. And with energy weapons you can shoot, they can dodge, but then you'll still have a full mag or a short reload time. So right here you'll see why a lot of people run them on Inquisitors, as it has that 350 meter range and works very well. And right here, the Lancelot would generally win this fight against the Inquisitor, except for the fact that I had less health there. But up close, if it's an Inquisitor and Lancelot, and the Inquisitor doesn't have its stealth, then yeah, the Lancelot would win. And just another clip here of that happening. So he comes out of stealth, and then because I have that shield, I'm able to quickly take him out. And the Ember is similar to the Thunder in the way that the closer you are, the more damage it gets, because the Ember it's almost the first energy weapon to have a bit of a splash damage. So if somebody's hiding right around a corner, you can fire the Ember and it'll graze them and do a bit of damage to them. And no other energy weapon has that trait. So when you're up close, more of the weapon will hit the enemy, and when you're further away, it can waver a bit and miss the enemy.
Take me away, I'm running for my life, for my life. What's with your delay? You're only killing time, killing time. So take me away, I'm running for my life, for my life. And what's with your delay? You're only killing time, killing time. Take me take a minute to glance down the street where no hope surrounds you. An empty soul, so much space to fill the gaps we fall through. And do you see what we've become? Through tears and losing the only one, the only one.
So one more Lancelot build that didn't make the list, but I thought I'd mention it just because I see it quite often, is the 2 Scourge and 1 Zeus on the Lancelot. I've also seen an Ansel with 2 Scourges, and in general both these setups just don't do enough damage. You'd probably be better off using a Fury Zeus if you're going to sit back and use range. And this setup also isn't cheap either, as the Scourge costs components and the Zeus costs gold. So I try to shy away from this build, and you can't even get close with the build because I know that with Scourge, the closer you are, the more damage you deal. But when you get closer, you can't do damage as fast as Orkans. So this player was able to get closer, and I'm chipping away barely any health of his while he just completely wiped me out with Orkans. So I try to stick to those 4 builds that I mentioned. And anyways guys, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you guys want to see more content like this. Thanks.